other topic I wanted to touch on. It's the idea of equivalence. The folks on the neoconservative side argue that if the government is going to stimulate the economy, you need to figure out where they're getting the money to do that. Because if they're getting it from households, that means their taxes go up, so they spend less. And so if you get a reduction in consumption spending in order to get an increase in government spending, you're not going to do much for the economy. They tend to offset each other. What we call equivalence. You take $1 from a household and spend it, well, you reduce their consumption by $1 to get a $1 increase over here. You didn't do any good.
So you're still getting a decrease in the overall picture.
Yeah, well, your net spending is unchanged. $1 less consumption, $1 more government. The only difference is now the dollar is buying what the government wants instead of what the consumer wants. That's equivalence. You have a $1 equivalent change.
Changing hands of who spends it.
Who spends it, yeah. Okay, same thing if you looked at businesses and you increase their taxes by $1, then you decrease their investment spending by $1, give or take, okay? -1 plus 1, it's equivalent. You're not going to get any change. And by that argument, what does that tell you about stimulus spending? Doesn't do any good. You're wasting time. You're just changing who's going to spend the money. What do you think about that? Usually at first it makes intuitive sense.
Then you have to ask what the government's spending the dollar on.
Well, you always have to ask what is the government spending it on and how efficiently are they spending?
Who's the more responsible party there?
Huh?
Who's going to spend it more effectively?
Who's going to do more for the economy? But, again, opinion, okay? This equivalence idea in this regard, I think is very true with a fully employed economy. Okay? But what if you're in an economy that's recessed like we have today?
And it's better because consumers and businesses aren't spending it in the first place.
Yeah, if they're not spending to begin with, you put it in government's hand and they do spend it, have you reduced their spending further? Well, again, here let's go down to another level. Let's talk about two different households. The rich, to make it the extremes, and the poor. What's the MPC for the rich? Take a guess.
Like
90? The really rich.
No, like 50. No, like 50.
I think it would be, just to illustrate, let's call it 80.
80,
Because they're saving and investing 20% of their income.
That's true.
For some of it's lower than that.
Obviously.
What's the MPC for the poor?
Like 99.
Somewhere between 0.99 and 1.06, right?
Right. Going into debt.
Yeah. So, if you take dollars from these folks, what happens? They get poorer. They spend less money. They absolutely got to cut spending because they ain't saving anything anyway. If you take dollars from these folks, does that reduce their spending? Maybe not as much. So, if your taxes are directed this way, this is the argument now. I'm not saying I agree with it. The argument is that taxes on the rich will not be subject to this equivalence argument.
It just affects their cushion, but not their spending necessarily.
It will also reduce their savings.
Right.
They will have less money going into savings, and that's an important consideration. Except in our economy today, we have far too much savings relative to spending. So there's one argument against equivalence. Tax cuts to wealthy households may not be subject to this equivalence argument. The other thing is this. What about businesses? If your economy is in a recession, and businesses aren't spending that money anyway, which is true today with all the cash they've got, when you raise their taxes, you take all of their, or not all, you take some of their savings that they're holding on to, and you inject it into the economy. Good idea, bad idea. Damn terrible idea if you're a business. You don't want to pay more taxes. But in the macro sense, there is an argument that equivalence doesn't apply here either. In a recession. In a fully employed economy, they're out there spending, and they're spending with good optimism. And if you start taking money away from them to spend more government, you get a reduction in investment. What do we call that? When government goes out and borrows more money, and as a result, crowding out. Crowding out, as we said, crowding out almost certainly occurs at full employment. But in a recessionary economy, like today, maybe that's not quite so true. So, this topic and the explanation I just gave you is not on the syllabus, it's not on the course schedule, but it is now part of the course, and I'll post this video. And you can anticipate a question or two or three around the idea of equivalence. All right? Anything else? That was my show and tell for today.
As far as stuff we should be up to date on at this point in time, what should we have read by now? What should we have watched and everything? As far as
it's on the VRSQ, the video reading and study questions. Whatever is on that schedule, that's what I'm trying to stick to.
Okay.
When I finish editing and posting this video, there'll probably be 2 or 3 videos out of it.
Okay.
They'll go in for this week of class, and I don't think there's a whole lot left for the last 2 weeks of class. In fact, our exams, the third? Fifth. The week of the 3rd, Wednesday the 5th. So after we've come back from Thanksgiving, we've only got 3 class days left. We'll spend some time with Reaganomics. We'll spend some time looking through the Bush, the Clinton, and the next Bush years and economic performance and some of the issues that were going on. We will talk a little bit about the Great Recession, the one we're kind of in right now that began at the end of 2007, and maybe talk about the auto bailout, but certainly talk about the banking system, what caused it to falter, if not quite fail. So that's out there. But at this point, I would say if you're done up through the Reaganomics supply side arguments, you're in good shape. And some of that other stuff I don't have videos on. I'll be making them from what I say in class. So in class is where you get it.
As far as you said the 5th, December 5th, that's our 3rd test. That's not our final, right?
Nope, that's it. That's it. There's 3 exams in the course. They're not comprehensive. It's not a comprehensive exam.
I can't remember what we did last segment. Yeah, okay.
Micro?
Yeah,
Micro was same, like 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I can't remember that.
And choice.
Say again?
And the choices paper.
And the choices paper. If December the 5th is inconvenient for anybody, you let me know, and I'll set you up with an exam during exam week. I have no problem with that. This is meant really for your convenience to get it out of the way if you got other finals.
No, that's great. That's really great.
But, well, it's easy on me, but you don't have to take it the 5th. You can take it later.
I want to study first.
Okay, anything else?
That's it for me.
All right. Drive careful.
All right. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
You do the same.